They can ask you, what do you need it for? They can tell you, come back in 3 days. They can limit your daily withdrawal to an amount that doesn't even cover a dinner out with your family. And they can do it because, technically, that money is no longer yours. The moment you deposit it, it becomes an unsecured loan that you are giving to the bank. They tell you it's for your safety. They tell you it's to fight money laundering. But the truth is much simpler and much more disturbing. They have built a digital cage so comfortable that you didn't even notice you walked into it. Today we talk about the infrastructure of digital confiscation. They no longer need a government decree like in 1933. Today, an algorithm is enough. Welcome to the reality of financial illusion. In the last video, we saw how in 1933, the government had to use physical force, the threat of prison, and propaganda to seize physical gold from citizens. Gold is heavy. Gold is hard to transport. But gold is real. To take it away from you, they had to come and get it physically. Today, the situation is radically different. They don't need to come to your house. They don't need to break down your door. The modern banking system, together with payment service providers and centralized exchanges, has created a perfect infrastructure of control. In this video, we will dismantle this illusion piece by piece. We will analyze why you have to book an appointment to withdraw your own cash. We will look at the legal difference between custody and deposit, a distinction that could cost you your entire wealth. And we will understand why Bitcoin, the real one, the one you hold yourself, is the only way out of this digital panopticon. Stop worrying about future laws. The infrastructure to block you is already here. It is already active. And it is time to understand how it works. Imagine this scene. It has happened to many of you, maybe just last week. You walk into your branch. You want to withdraw 4,000 or 5,000 euros of your savings. We're not talking about millions. We're talking about the money to buy a used car or pay for some renovation work. You go up to the counter and the employee looks at you with a mix of suspicion and bureaucratic compassion. "I'm sorry," they say. "For this amount, you need to make an appointment." And the manager would like to know the reason. Let's pause for a second. Let's analyze the dramatic irony of this moment. You worked for that money. You paid taxes on that money. You entrusted it to them to keep it safe. And now you find yourself in the position of having to ask permission to get it back. You have to justify yourself, like a teenager asking their parents for pocket money. "It's for your safety," they say. "It's for anti-money laundering regulations," they repeat. Has this ever happened to you? Let's be real. Organized crime washes billions in broad daylight. We aren't talking about a measly 4 or 5 grand here. Yet, when you try to use your own money, your hard-earned right to support your family, suddenly you're the suspect. They treat you like a criminal while they ignore the real monsters. They know the difference. They know the numbers. Is there any greater disrespect? Any bigger insult to your intelligence? Tell me, what do you think? But the reality is structural. A normal question is born from this. Where is my money? Because as we saw in another video, criminals don't use Bitcoin. So, banks do not keep your money in a vault with your name on it. Your money is not there. Your money has been lent to someone else, invested in government bonds, used to finance 30-year mortgages. What you see on your banking app is not money. It is pixels. It is a promise to pay, a digital IOU. When you go to withdraw cash, you are breaking the illusion. You're asking the bank to convert a digital promise into a real bearer asset. And the system hates this step. Every obstacle, every question, every ATM limit, every come back tomorrow is designed for one thing: to keep you inside the digital fence. Because as long as the money is numbers on a screen, it is under their control. The moment it becomes banknotes in your hands, or Bitcoin on your hardware wallet, their power evaporates. The infrastructure of confiscation starts here with intentional friction. They make it hard to get out so that you choose out of exhaustion to stay in. Let's go deeper. We need to understand the legal difference between ownership and credit. It's a boring concept, I know, but it's the difference between being sovereign and being a subject. If you park your car in a guarded garage, you keep ownership of the car. The garage cannot sell your car. It cannot lend it to another customer. If the garage goes bankrupt, you go there, take your keys, and drive your car away. This is custody. When you deposit money in a bank, you think the same thing is happening. But you're wrong. Legally, when you deposit money, you are transferring ownership of that money to the bank. In exchange, the bank gives you a credit. You become an unsecured creditor of the bank. If the bank fails, or if there is a liquidity crisis, you are not entitled to your money. You are entitled to stand in line with all the other creditors and hope there is something left to distribute. This is what they call a bail-in. They no longer save banks with taxpayers' money, the bailout. They save them with depositors' money, in other words, yours. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's written in the contracts you signed without reading. It's the law in Europe. It's the law in the United States. And this architecture extends beyond traditional banks. Look at centralized cryptocurrency exchanges. It is the exact same infrastructure, just with a more colorful logo and a faster app. If you leave your Bitcoin on an exchange, you don't have Bitcoin. You have a claim against the exchange, denominated in Bitcoin. If the exchange shuts down, if the CEO disappears, if the government freezes the exchange's accounts, you have zero. The infrastructure of confiscation is built on this fundamental misunderstanding. They make you believe you are the owner while you are only a creditor. And a creditor has to wait, has to ask, and sometimes has to lose everything. Many people speak with fear about CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. And it is right to be concerned. CBDCs are the last mile of total control, programmable money that can expire or be limited geographically. But here's the truth few will say: they don't need CBDCs to control you. The current infrastructure is already enough. Look at what happened in Canada during the truckers' protests. There were no CBDCs, they were using normal Canadian dollars. And yet the government invoked an emergency and ordered banks to freeze the accounts of those who were protesting. And not only those who were protesting, also those who had donated $50 to buy coffee for the protesters. Maybe one of them could be you. How would you feel in that exact moment? How would you feel if, in a single second, you couldn't even buy a loaf of bread for yourself and your family? That second, when with a simple click, you're gone. And the worst part is, you don't know what to do because you have no alternative. No trial, no judge, no appeal. Click. Account frozen. You can't buy food, you can't pay rent, you can't buy fuel. You have been financially erased from society with a simple database update. This is the power of the current infrastructure. Payment processors like Visa and MasterCard have specific codes for every type of purchase. They know if you're buying ammunition. They know if you're donating to the wrong political party, and they can, under political or regulatory pressure, shut off the taps. Chokepoint 2.0. It's a technical term that describes the strategy of cutting off financial access to undesirable industries or people. It's not necessary to make something illegal. It's enough to make it impossible to pay for. If you depend on an intermediary to move value, you depend on that intermediary's permission. And that intermediary answers to the state, not to you. Your ownership is an illusion maintained as long as you are an obedient citizen who doesn't make too much noise. But the moment you become inconvenient, the switch is flipped. So, what is the solution? Go back to hiding cash under the mattress? Cash is better than numbers on a screen for sure. It is anonymous. It is bearer. But cash devalues. Inflation eats it year after year, and if you try to travel with a briefcase full of cash, you will be treated like a criminal at the border. The answer has to be digital, but it has to be sovereign. This is where Bitcoin comes in, but be careful. Not the Bitcoin you buy on a fintech app and leave there. I'm talking about Bitcoin in self-custody, your private keys. Bitcoin is the only asset in the world that is not someone else's debt. It is not a bank's liability. It is not a government promise. It is a scarce digital good that you can carry in your head by memorizing 12 words. They can shut down banks. They can block wire transfers. They can put guards at the borders to search for gold. But they cannot stop a peer-to-peer Bitcoin transaction. They cannot seize what they cannot touch and what they don't have the key to. Bitcoin is weightless. In 1933, gold was heavy and hard to hide. Today, billions of euros of value can cross a border in a second without asking anyone's permission. This is a level of freedom no government has ever had to face before. The infrastructure of confiscation is based on centralized choke points. Bitcoin removes the choke point. It removes the intermediary. It transforms money from a tool of control into a tool of freedom. The illusion of financial ownership is collapsing. Every time your bank asks you why, every time an account is frozen for political reasons, the mask slips. The fence becomes visible to anyone with eyes to see it. Don't wait for them to close the gates before you look for the exit. Learn self-custody. Take possession of your keys. Stop being a creditor of the system and become the owner of your future. Subscribe to the channel because in the next episode we will answer the question that keeps people up at night. Is